Hello, brains. If you clicked on this video, I'm guessing you would like to be more productive, whether that is because you want to get more stuff done, you want to be more successful in your career, in your life in general, or you just want to be done. Like you want to do the amount of work you need to do and then be done with it faster so that you, like the version of me in the thumbnail, can enjoy fruity drinks sitting in a beach chair. This episode I am so excited about because I got to talk to somebody who really deeply understands ADHD and productivity. He has written books such as ADHD After Dark, which I interviewed him about in this video. And now I got the chance to speak to him about his latest book, the ADHD Productivity Manual, and pick his brain. You can see the full cut of this video over on our Patreon. Put the link in the description below. But for this video, we narrowed it down to the top questions that he answered about ADHD and productivity. I hope you enjoy.
My name is Dr. Ari Tuckman. I'm a psychologist. I've written some books. I do a lot of presenting. I hang out with fun people like you when I'm lucky. So glad to be here.
Really excited to have you. You have this amazing book that is coming out this week.
It is.
First of all, lots of resources exist on ADHD and productivity. So what unique perspective or gap in existing resources led you to write the ADHD Productivity Manual?
I'm a psychologist. I sit with clients all day. Like that's actually really what I do. And I have a lot of conversations about productivity. And the thing of it is, like, especially if you have ADHD, it's not just like one thing. And it's not like the top 5 things, right? There's like all sorts of things that can impact somebody's ability to get stuff done. What I wanted to do was write a book that was both sort of deep and wide. So deep meaning it goes beyond just kind of obvious advice of like get a to-do list or set an alarm or whatever, right? Like everybody knows that stuff. Nobody needs more of that. But it's also wide in the sense that it covers a whole bunch of different topics, many of the things that can impact somebody's ability to get stuff done. This is why I wrote a book and why you have more than like 3 videos on your channel, right? Because it's right. It's not just the 3 things. It's lots of different things. And I wanted it to be really sort of accessible and like all in one place.
So what are a few of those things that impact productivity and ADHD? Why is productivity such a challenge for us?
I mean, there's the sort of inherent parts and then there's the more complicated part, right? So the inherent parts is things like trouble with seeing time and feeling future deadlines and getting distracted and forgetting. And, so there's that sort of basic sort of fundamental stuff of ADHD. But then you get into like the psychology of it, like people pleasing, for example, right? If you've struggled more, you're going to try harder to say yes to people or, feeling kind of confused because you're not entirely sure, like ambiguity, right? Like, I know I need to do this thing. I'm not entirely sure. I think my boss told me, but I don't want to ask because if I ask, then they're going to know I wasn't paying attention. Then you get into the social part of it. Everybody's going to have opinions and everybody's going to have expectations for you. But how much do they get to vote on what you do versus how much do you get to say, sorry, man, I wish I could, but you know what? I got other things I need to do instead. Right. So there's like, do you have that social capital to be able to do that? And what do you do when the other person is disappointed or frustrated or even angry about it? There's a lot that goes into this, as you know.
Yeah, I know from writing my own book, there's a lot that goes into challenges with productivity. But there's also something I noticed from your book, which is really interesting, is there's more of a benefit to productivity than just getting the thing done, right? Like we tend to think we want to be productive so that we can get the thing done. But there's more to it than that. I talked to Ari about this, but one of the things that is really difficult for me about productivity is that I get into a good flow, I get into a good swing of things, a good routine, a good rhythm, and then a crisis happens, and then my productivity, everything just kind of falls apart. When I'm in crisis is also like a really hard time for me to work out, which is unfortunate because when I work out, my brain works better, I'm able to focus better. So thankfully, I have a personal fitness coach through Trainwell. I feel like a lot of fitness programs that I've tried, you kind of have to like do what you're supposed to do, and there's not really like a lot of flexibility to it. Trainwell meets you where you're at in terms of your schedule, in terms of what equipment you have available. You have a personal fitness coach who designs your workouts based on your personal needs, your goals, your equipment, and even the time that you have available. Most recently, I met with my fitness coach and we realized like it was a little too much of a barrier for me to be starting my week and jumping right into a strength training exercise. But she always helps me figure out like how to work with what I've got. Even if that's like I've got too much going on, I'm too stressed, Great, let's just move your body. Let's just focus on self-care this week. You still stay in this kind of routine, and then when you're ready to lift weights again, then we can lift weights again. But I love how flexible it is. I love how forgiving it is. I never feel any sort of like shame for like messing up. It just feels really, really supportive of my needs and my goals. It's really amazing in terms of like the flexibility and the personalization. Trainwell pairs you with a fitness coach that's a good match for you through a quiz that you take when you go to sign up. And I'm getting as much done as I am getting done because of the support that I'm getting from my fitness coach, from this app. I can't say enough positive things about it. If you want to get more done and you want to feel good in your body and brain, Trainwell is a great resource for people with ADHD. Take the quiz to find your perfect trainer and get a 14-day free trial by going to go.trainwell.net/how-to-ADHD. I'll also put the link in the description below. Beyond task completion, what deeper needs or desires might be fulfilled by improving our productivity?
Life is not just about getting things done. When you've spent a lot of your life not managing your ADHD well, then it does become about getting things done. And mostly it's about getting things done so bad things don't happen to you.
Mhm.
Somebody is mad at me, something is going to happen, something isn't working out, here we go again, kind of, right? So it's about avoiding the negative things that you don't like. But that's not a good life, right? Avoiding negatives is the least motivating thing. What's really motivating is this is good, this is meaningful, this is important to me. I want more energy for this. And that's really kind of my thing about productivity is it's about having more time and energy for the things that matter most.
I like that a lot. Yeah. That brings us to goals, right? So in your book, you say productivity begins with having the right goals. The right
Mhm.
tasks follow from there. So, how can people with ADHD effectively identify meaningful long term goals?
It involves really kind of thinking about it. What matters most to me? And some of it is sort of personal development stuff, so we can talk about work, we can talk about school. There's family obligations and friends and the people in our life that we care about, getting into shape, eating better, whatever, right? Like there's all these different goals, but there's still only 24 hours. And when you're scrambling, you don't have time to sort of like pick your head up and actually look at where you're going and think about if that's where you want to go. So, so there's that whole thing of like stopping and really thinking about what am I doing and does this work for me?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you this, but it's how I started my channel. I
Hmm.
was scrambling to do all the things that I was supposed to do in my career as a friend, as a partner, and I would just get more and more frantic. I would fall further and further behind as a life coach, actually. And I was like, help, this isn't working clearly. And she was like, all these things you're doing, stop. And I was like, what do you mean stop? Like, I'm already so far behind. I can't stop. But she said, just anything that's not absolutely critical, like go to work, go to sleep, eat, stop doing it because we don't know where you need to be putting your effort yet.
Yeah.
And I went, "Okay." And it was the most terrifying thing I ever did in my life, but I actually stopped doing anything that I was supposed to do other than the absolutely most critical things, and in the space of a month that felt like a lifetime, my brain was finally able to talk to me and say, "Hey, this is what we need."
Yeah.
Instead of me being like, "Brain, do this, do this, do this." It was like, "Hey, I can we do this?" Like, and that was actually really helpful. So I like that you're saying that. Like, stop, pause, breathe so that we have the space to think of what those goals might be for ourselves. But if we figure out what our goals are, how do we first of all remember what those goals are? I feel like there are times where I'm like, "Here's my goal." And then 2 days later somebody's like, "How's that going?" And I was like, "The what now?" I forgot about
Yeah.
the goal. So first of all, how do we remember the goals, but then how do we sustain motivation and focus over the long haul?
This is why New Year's resolutions tend not to hit the light of February, let alone the second week of January,
Mhm.
is because it's easy to have ideas, but it's about doing something with it. It's about really thinking about like, what does this goal actually look like in real life, moment by moment? Where does this goal happen? And doing a bit of sort of planning or sprinkling it into your schedule, and then to sort of do the things you need to do to remind yourself at that right time and place.
So maybe when you're in that, like, I'm excited about this new goal space, that's the time to put blocks on your calendar. That's the time to make your to-do lists or whatever it is, so that when that motivation wanes a little bit, like you've already done a lot of the work to set yourself up for success. How do we know when it actually makes sense for your goals to shift?
That is such a hard thing, right? Because it's a difference between being persistent, which is admirable, and being stubborn, which is not helpful. That's the thing. Like, not every goal is worth pursuing to the end. So I think it's a thing of like, really making that honest assessment. Is this working? Like, I'm okay with working hard. That's fine. But is it working? Am I coming to where I want to be on this? Do I feel like there's a sense of progress? Maybe I need to check in with some other people and talk it through.
I should have had check-ins, whether it was with myself, whether it was someone
Yeah.
else. What I do now for my company is if we say we're gonna do this, it's not we're gonna do this for the foreseeable future in perpetuity. It's like, even if it's a long-term goal, we're gonna make it a short-term or medium-term goal and then do a check-in and be like, "Is this working? Is this getting us to where we wanna go?" Because if I don't have those regular check-ins, first of all, I might get distracted in 5 minutes, but second of all, I might do this thing that isn't working for me for the next 5 years. So having those built-in check-ins, I think, is really valuable.
Definitely those check-ins are important. And I think also having people who call you out in a good way, right? And will say, like, I don't think this is working out. Or wait, why are you doing this?
Let's say you've chosen your goals, you remember what the goals are, you've got the motivation, you've got your check-in scheduled, and then somebody asks you to do something for them. Like, how do you manage requests from others when you have your own goals and priorities?
You need to be able to be assertive and advocate for yourself and say, sorry, I can't do that. It's a matter of kind of feeling the balance of the relationship. And, is this a thing that's reasonable for them to ask of me? Is this good for me to do it for them? Like, how important is this to you? Is there some flexibility?
Can you explain what the challenges are that people with ADHD experience when it comes to time?
Folks with ADHD have a more difficulty kind of seeing time, predicting how long things take, more variability in how long things take. So it's just like in lots and lots of ways, ADHD makes it harder to really kind of see time and, like we were talking about before, kind of feeling the future.
So, how do you suggest navigating this fear of being late in a way that doesn't overly derail the rest of our lives? Because that comes at a
Yeah.
cost too.
It does. It does. But that's the thing, right? That, like, I can't start anything because I have to be at this thing at 2. Honestly, the math on that adds up. If your alternative is missing it is catastrophic versus wasting time until 2, much lower, like, I'll take it. That is the better option. So some of this then is really being intentional about what you start before, right? Like, hyperfocus is real. Maybe some things you just need to not go anywhere near before you need to do something else. But it's also kind of setting enough alarms and reminders, setting ones that you're really going to notice. It also means being intentional about not being so far behind the 8 ball that you don't have any choice, right? You're scrambling and like all the way up until the last second.
Let's talk about those alarms and reminders. So, a lot of people with ADHD are recommended to set alarms. After I gave birth, every doctor that I went to, I was like, I'm able to take care of the baby, but taking my own painkillers, like taking my naps, all of these things are like, it's really difficult for me. And every single one of them proudly looked at me and said, as if I had never heard this before, set an alarm. I was like, "Yeah, here's the thing though, like, I set the alarms and then I ignore them, or I don't have my phone with me, or
Mm,
the alarm goes off while the baby's napping on me and now the baby's awake and it's a whole
yeah.
thing." Like,
Yeah.
how do you do you have any tips for managing alarms, reminders, and things for those of us maybe have tried it and it
Yeah.
hasn't
Yeah.
worked out?
There's very much an art to setting alarms and reminders because, like, if you set it but you don't have your phone, not helpful. Being a bit more intentional maybe, or seeing if there's anything you can do there. If you're not in the right place, don't turn the alarm off until you do the thing, including, just real quick, I'm just going to finish this email and then I'm going to do it. That's okay, but then the alarm goes to snooze, not to
Mhm.
off. Finding ways like that. And I think also, and this is super easy to say, but if your life is not a total scramble, it's easier if you have a bit more mental breathing room. The alarms become more effective, but it also becomes this thing when your life is a scramble, the strategies don't work as well. And then your life continues to be a scramble, right? And you're always behind. And right. So, like, there's totally a momentum that goes both ways. You need to find some way to sort of peel off some things to begin to give yourself a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of opportunity to be more intentional and mindful about the strategies you use and the things that you take on.
Do fewer things, because if you're trying to do too much, then you can't effectively do any of it, right? And that has definitely been my experience too. What is a good work environment for somebody with ADHD?
When you have ADHD and you have a harder time sort of pushing things out or saying, I'm not going to pay attention to that, it means the environment has much more of a direct path into your attention. what's happening around you has a bigger effect on what's going on inside your head. So part of managing attention well means in managing your environment well, whatever that means for you, right? For this job, for where I am right now, what is the best environment for me to get this done? Right. So that might be dead silent. It might be all notifications off, but it might actually not be that, right? That silence might be too distracting in its own way, or it leaves your thoughts too much room to roam. So maybe instead it's a louder environment, or there's music, or there's videos, or there's people, or you're talking to someone on the phone.
How do you have this focus on productivity and be productive in a way where you also get to enjoy your life?
Best place to do that is at the beginning of the day, right? Is to remind yourself, I really want to go see my friends, but also I want to go and be guilt free there. I want to be there and know that I should be there and feel good about it and feel like I've earned it. And I want to not have to worry about the stuff I didn't do. Right. So, again, focusing on the positives of what I'm going to gain from doing this. Therefore, I'm going to really hunker down and get this done now because I really want to be there with my friends. If you sort of mess around for half the day and now, like, there's only half a day's worth of stuff you can get done, that's a harder situation because on the one hand, as much as I might think like that's admirable that you're saying, you know what, sorry guys, can't do this. I really need to get this done. If you're doing that too much, then that's not good for you either. At some point, you need to say, you know what, I need to take some time and just do a fun thing. I'm not as effective as I should be. Maybe you just go hang out with your friends at that point.
Knowing where that balance is, I think, is really important. The impossible question is, how do you know when you've done enough? When society will tell you you haven't. Frankly, as somebody with ADHD or even somebody who's neurotypical in a capitalistic society, you're constantly getting the message that you could be doing more, you should be doing more, you haven't done enough. So how do you know when you've done enough?
Everybody has expectations, right? So, like, let's just start there. But for each of us as an individual, we need to figure out what's enough for us. And as much as there's absolutely benefits and there's gains to being more productive, to getting more done, there also is a cost to it. It's your time, it's your energy, it's stress, it's things that you're not doing. So for each of us at each moment of our life or each stage of our life, we decide that I want more and I'm willing to do the work, or we decide, you know what, it isn't worth it. It has come to a point where I think I actually want a little bit less. I think the bigger idea is knowing that you can do that, that is okay. And that for all of us, we need to figure out what that balance is.
I love that. I had never thought about it that way, but yeah, there is a cost to productivity. That's time you could be spending doing other things, could be spending connecting with friends and all of that. So, I mean, I guess ideally, your book is meant to support people in being productive in the ways that are meaningful to them so that they can then also get to enjoy their lives, right? And they can feel good about themselves. I'm really excited for your book. It's out May 9th. Is that right?
Yep. May 9th. Yep.
All right. Well, I will include in the description below where people can get a copy, but do you also want to tell them your website or where you would like them to go?
So adultadhdbook.com is really the best place. I've got a bunch of information and, sample from the book that's not the sample that's available, through Kindle. And I just want to get this stuff out there. And I really want people to kind of live better lives. Like that's really what this book is about.
I love that so much. Yeah, there's so many things that are out there to make people with ADHD more productive. I love that this is to help us lead better lives. So,
Yes.
really excited for this book. Thank you so much for writing it. Thank you so much, Ari. I'm sure that this is going to be helpful for a lot of people. I even learned some things, and I know a lot about ADHD and productivity. If you'd like to know more, you can, again, see our entire uncut version over on Patreon. And you can also buy Ari's book. It's available now I'll put it in the description below. Oh, and let us know if there's any aspect of productivity that you would like us to cover in a future video. Thank you so much to our brain advocates and all our Patreon brains for supporting the work that we do. And thank you to Trainwell for supporting this video. Again, link for that is in the description. Like, subscribe, click all the things, and I will see you next video. Bye, brains. Go get some stuff done.